Hey, CC West. I am so grateful for you all and your love for Christ community and your investment in our West campus. It's hard to believe that it was over 5 years ago a group of Christ community pioneers, including many of you, stepped out in faith and took a risk to launch a West campus as part of a larger vision to one day have a permanent West campus. It was uncharted territory for us. Would a multi-site vision even work? We had to answer that question and other questions as well. I mean, how much autonomy should this campus have? How much similarity would video teaching even work? So we jumped in with lots of energy and momentum. Now, during that first year, we started to feel a disconnect between campuses. Different worship songs, different logo, different newsletter, and we didn't know what to do with that. And so at the time, we decided to adopt more of an aligned model, making sure that what happened at one campus happened at the other campus as well. And in doing so, CC West began to be more of a fourth service than a campus with its own identity. You can go to 9 o'clock 15th, 10 o'clock out west. In fact, I see many of you at various times at both campuses, which is great. But that decision to align campuses seemed like the right decision at the time. But looking back, we now realize that it actually created some other significant challenges that we're facing today. What happened was we removed the West campus's ability to be a campus with a unique vision for how to reach the west side of Greeley. It's become more of an alternative service. And so over time, we started making some changes at 15th Street that were really hard to replicate out west. For instance, some environmental things like lighting and atmosphere in the room. I mean, a high school auditorium has its challenges, as you all know. Another example is the Loop, which is a 5th and 6th grade program. We started at 15th Street, but we don't have the space and leadership to replicate that at Northridge. Even some of the worship changes we were making at 15th Street were harder to replicate. We didn't realize how challenging it would be to put together 2 full worship teams and leaders every week. Our worship teams had to double their time commitment, and doing so made it harder for them to really participate. And so we've been struggling for a while to put together 2 full worship teams. And what's happened is that there is an increasing disparity between the experience at 15th Street and West. Now, I know that many of you love the small, intimate feel of West. I get that. I value that as well. But as much as I value that, that was not the original vision. Our vision was not to create a small alternative campus to 15th Street. It was to better reach West Greeley. The other dynamic that we have more recently been wrestling with is the time frame. When we launched our West campus, our plan was to be in this high school for 2 to 3 years max, and then into our new building. Well, we have always intended Northridge to be a transitionary step, but that's not how this has played out. We've been here for over 5 years right now, and we're at least 2 to 3 more years out from a permanent building. We never imagined it would take this long to get into our new West campus building. And honestly, the only reason we've been able to go this long is because of amazing volunteers and leaders like you. I mean, weekly setup and teardown is not easy, and you guys have rocked it. You've rocked it. You are some of the most valuable, dependable volunteers this church has. I truly believe that. But the reality of 3 more years has caused leadership to wrestle with all of these factors. The time, the energy, the staffing needed to keep this going is, honestly, it's substantial. And so a core team of staff members, including Michael and KJ and Bruce, Jenny, Phil, Daniel, Jamie, Rocky, Doug, and I, have been wrestling with all of these issues, trying to discern what is best in order for the initial West Campus vision to move forward. And we've come to a very painful and hard decision, but one that we feel like is the wisest course of action from a big picture perspective. And that is to close this campus at Northridge for the purpose of retooling and clarifying our vision for a regional West campus, so that when we launch that campus, we were able to do so in a strategic way that aligns with that vision. Now, I know this is really hard to hear. It's really hard to say, I am so sorry for the pain and the hurt that this causes in your heart. This decision has been made with a lot of tears and heaviness because we know it means stopping something that is so good for so many people. This is your community. And please hear me. I love the fact that you have found community. I do. I affirm that and I celebrate it. And I totally understand why you wouldn't like this decision. I don't like this decision. I don't want to do this. In fact, that's probably why we took so long to take action. We didn't want to hurt anyone. It was easier to just keep going. But our entire team is convinced this is what God wants us to do. Even though painful, we truly believe this is the right move in order for us to move toward the vision for a regional campus. I'm so grateful for all the people who make West happen each and every week. The last thing I want to do is hurt you by taking away something so meaningful. I'm so sorry for the hurt this causes. I do want you to hear that this last 5 years has not been wasted. Lives have been impacted. So many stories changed. Plus, you have helped give us so much more clarity. What we have learned in our experience over these past 5 years is invaluable, both the good things and the things we could have done better. And that part's on me. Michael has done an amazing job with what we have asked him to do and resourced him to do. He has hit it out of the park. I'm so proud of him. We now have a much better idea of what the campus pastor role involves and how to release and empower that person to lead their campus with vision. We didn't know how to do that very well these past few years. And again, that's on me. You know, it's like this past 5 years has been a critically important scouting mission to figure out how to best impact this region. So even though the specific expression of this campus at Northridge is going away, the importance of what you have done can't be underestimated. Because of your investment in our West Campus, we are going to be able to better reach this region for Christ. Thank you. You guys are pioneers, and we are grateful. Pioneers are people who are willing to take risks and move forward for the sake of others. And that's exactly what you have done. And our church and this region will reap the blessings of that in time. Sometimes even pioneers need to pull back and regroup, to rest and solidify resources and rethink strategies in order to better move forward in the future. It's the pulling back that enables the movement to continue. Now, our desire in this process, we don't want anyone to leave our church. You are Christ Community. We want you to continue to be a vital part of Christ Community Church. Our hope and my deepest desire with this is that everyone will be able to integrate into our 15th Street campus. Now, for some, this transition won't be too difficult because you started at 15th Street. For others, this will be hard because you've never attended at 15th Street. And we want to do all we can to make this transition as less difficult as possible. That's our heart. Now, as we just heard in the message today, church is not about a building or a worship service or a worship experience. It's a gathering of people, a family on mission. You are Christ Community, and we would love for you to serve and to love people at 15th Street the way you have so effectively done here at our West Campus. The reality is the vision God is calling us to as a church is so much bigger than any one campus, or 15th Street or West. God has so much more in store for us as a church. We're just trying to follow the cloud. Again, you are some of the most amazing, faithful people in our congregation, the most dedicated volunteers we have. And I think of how much stronger our church will be when we are able to have a season where we are together in one building, prayerfully moving forward in the vision God has given Christ Community to be a movement of hope to this region. When our team was processing this, we spent a day fasting and we took some time to pray together as a team. And during that time, one of our team members saw a picture of all of us as a church holding up our hands, and there was a steering wheel in the center. And we were all letting go of our desire to steer this thing. And instead, we're just letting God take it. And that's our heart, surrendering to God and trusting Him to keep leading us, even when it's hard and painful. Now, I'm sure you have lots of questions. One is probably about our timeline. What's the timeline on this? Well, our lease with Northridge is up June 30th. And we want to give time to celebrate what God has done and also time to process and to grieve. So our plan is for June 16th to be our last worship service at Northridge. We would like to have a celebration there that weekend with our food truck providing food. Another question is probably about staff. What happens to Michael and Tim? Because we're hoping that everyone at West comes to 15th Street, that means that our pastoral staff needs are the same. We're excited about Michael's role in our staff team and Tim's role in our children's ministry continuing. As for other specific part-time staff, we have not figured all that out yet. Thank you again to all of you who have served and invested and set up and tore down so that people could experience Jesus. You all are amazing. I love you guys, and I'm so honored to be a part of this family with you. If you have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to reach out to Michael or myself. We want to hear your heart, and we want to process this difficult decision with you. Thanks again.